Hi guys, and welcome back to Twisted Locker, your definitive horror podcast. Today we're going to be doing another classic review, and we've got 2004's Saw, directed by the master of horror himself, James Wan. This film took 18 days to film, and that's 18 days to make a horror franchise that's spawned over 20 years. Absolute madness. Jenks, if you want to kick this one off.
Yeah, I saw this film when it first came out, and I originally, like everybody else, thought it was just going to be another Seven sort of film, lower level. Danny Glover's career had kind of gone away, and he was just in this as like a throwaway sort of thriller. And I stuck it on because it had some good buzz about it. But I liked the idea with the traps and all the jigsaw ideas. But the scenes where they're in the sort of within that sort of bathroom, toilet, whatever, and you got Cary Elwes. Oh, I can't
Elvis,
pronounce his
yeah,
name.
Elvis, yeah.
Elwes.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
uh, chain to the pipe. It's so good because it's such a low concept story, and it's made better with like lots of flashbacks and showing bits and bobs. But the actual story is very very small, and when you watch this, I want to give the twist away because it's so good, but maybe we shouldn't. You know, some people may not have watched it. I don't
Yeah.
see the point of giving spoilers away. But it's such a good twist, okay? It's not as good as Sixth Sense, but it's on a par. If you're going to do the top 5 best twists in horror, this has definitely got one. And you got Leigh Whannell's character Adam, who's chained to the other side of the bathroom. He's the writer of it, and he went on to make Invisible Man and things like that. And the very underrated Upgrade. That
Yeah.
film is awesome. Another video, and uh, the tension, and he's got to decide whether if he wants to live. He needs to saw his leg off. He cannot saw through the chains. He's got to make that horrible decision. Is getting to his family worth losing his leg over? And it's such a horrible premise. And if I suppose most of us think, well, I would chop my leg off my family, but if you've got a saw in your hand and you've got to pluck up the courage to do it, that must be terrifying.
You can do it! Cut his fucking head off!
And I loved this film, and most of the sequels are dog shit. The second film is excellent. The 10th one is pretty good.
Yeah.
They're not dog shit. There's a lot worse sequels. They're not dog shit. They're just going down and down and down and getting a bit sillier. But this one started it off, and it is an absolute gem. What do you think?
Yeah, absolute cracking film, Jenks. There's no denying the presence this film has had in horror, in cinema. And it's
Yeah,
mad to believe, right, how old this film is. It came out in 2004. And because there's been so many movies and it's become such a monster of pop culture,
yeah,
it's just hard to believe. And you can forget how old this film actually is and
yeah,
how young James Wan and Leigh Whannell were. They were just two struggling wannabe movie makers
yeah,
who tried to come up with this low level concept, cheap budget film just to get their foot in the door for Hollywood. Now imagine writing a script and making a film just to get just to get your foot in the door in Hollywood,
yeah.
right? And you make Saw.
I
That's
know.
how talented these two guys are. And everything they've had in Hollywood, they absolutely deserve.
Yeah,
Two of my favorite people in horror, when them two work together, amazing. Obviously, like you said, Leigh Whannell, outside of writing, has also started carving his own career now.
yeah,
Invisible
yeah,
Man, Upgrade, absolutely fantastic films. Insidious 3 is a good film as well. But yeah, them two together and absolute dynamite. And what makes this film specifically great is the way it's made, and it's made like that because it's cheap, but it's got that cheap, gritty feel to it. The
yeah,
lighting, everything just really adds to the overall feel of this movie, and it
yeah,
makes you really feel like you're in there with them. Now, this one, right, was so low budget, they were trying to come up with ways to cut the budget even more. And they initially wanted them in a lift. So the film was going to be set in a lift. I know, again, not spoiling the twist, but I don't know how they would have made that work or it would have evolved into something else completely if they were in that environment. But like I said, it was so cheap. They thought, how can we make this cheaper? And obviously, um, how big is an elevator would have been a lot cheaper.
But
Um,
I kind of like that idea of a lift. I think it would have been quite good for a
yeah.
sequel if you could be something inventive, like
Hey,
Devil
I
was.
I love Devil. I thought Devil was
Yeah,
great. I
yeah, it
love
was
those
very good.
experimental movies, you know.
Yeah,
But my opinion on this film overall, obviously, it's an absolute powerhouse of a horror movie that started two of the biggest names in horror today, and it's crazy to believe, right? Like I said, these two started with Saw, and they went on to create another two franchises that have possibly overtaken Saw. You've got Insidious and
Yeah.
Conjuring.
yeah,
These two are absolutely unstoppable, and you can't deny, obviously, it all started with Saw when we got introduced to James Wan and Leigh Whannell. This film
yeah.
is a masterpiece for what they had and what they did. It's an easy 5 stars. I absolutely love this film. It's by far the best one in the
Yeah.
franchise.
And the worst thing they ever did in Saw, the biggest tragedy, worse than chopping legs and arms off and pulling
I
out
know what you're going to
fucking
say.
things, is kill off Jigsaw. Is that what you thought you were gonna say?
Yeah, absolutely mental. And the
Uh,
studio have actually aired their regret about killing him off. It's one of the silliest decisions in Hollywood history.
yeah.
Have you ever heard the expression, the customer is always right?
I see when you watch number 10, okay, and it's set before Saw 1. I know he's old
No,
as
it's
fuck
it's
now. He
set between 1 and 2.
was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Saw 2, so it's set right in between Saw 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, well, either way,
Yeah,
no, they didn't try to de-age him. They just thought, fuck it, who cares? It's a Saw film, and I hope they do out with 11, because 11's coming out this year, and as trashy as it's probably going to be, I have got new love of Saw because I fell out of love after 3.
yeah,
It took
same.
me a long time to see 4, and an even longer time to see 5, and 6, I think, and 7 was 7. Oh, 7 was. I can't remember. There was Spiral. That was not really a Saw film, but
Yeah.
but 3 was so crap. I think 3 was terrible, but they killed him off. And I think they maybe thought, okay, he's done now. 3's enough. And let's keep making him. But he's such a good character. As sort of cheesy as those films go, the two things that were consistently high end, which that's how they ended up on the cinema, we go to the cinema and not straight to DVD like a lot of sequels like Hellraiser and shit like that,
Yeah, yeah.
is because Tobin Bell's performance as Jigsaw was so engaging. He's such a good actor, a very underrated actor. He is very good at delivering these like monologues of his reasoning
Oh,
behind what
amazing.
he does, to the point where you're thinking, he's got a fucking point.
You see, the knowledge of death changes everything. If I were to tell you the exact date and time of your own death, it would shatter your world completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that always stay consistent, right? The rest of it, and another thing that stayed consistent was the creativity of the traps. Every film had unique traps.
Yeah,
Apart from
absolutely.
the actual film Jigsaw, I think they were running on empty at that point. Um,
Yeah,
but in general, they always. I would love to have been like, if I always imagine like a long boardroom where their only job is to think of torture traps for Saw, and they're
yeah,
just
yeah.
throwing ideas, and some guys they're writing them down. Yeah, yeah, pull his eyeballs out with a Rottweiler or something. And I was like, oh, I wish it was like that, but it probably is not that. It's probably just people texting, hey, what about da da da? That's
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah,
that's the
of course.
extent of
Just
it.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just adding
but it's
things
a
here and there, like.
but it's a classic. Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to touch a little bit more upon what you said about them killing off Jigsaw. He's become so iconic now, right? Him himself, he's bigger than the Saw franchise. People absolutely love him. Now, imagine any big horror franchise like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, whatever. Imagine they had like 2 or 3 solid films and they decided to kill them off and then not bring them back. It would be an absolutely idiotic move. And I don't know why they thought it was a good idea in these ones. But not just Jigsaw as well, on a different topic. Is Billy the Puppet himself, like how iconic that's become.
yeah,
And
yes,
James Wan, right, handcrafted that from scratch himself. He didn't turn another doll into an added makeup and stuff. He built that himself from scratch, which is insane.
it's
Now,
amazing.
I bet you, right, even on set, they just built this doll and made him. there's no way they knew how iconic that
Yeah.
puppet was going to become. And
Yeah.
the famous tagline, "I want to play a game." Saw has been an absolute mainstay in horror since 2004.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of a lot of the sequels, but I'm very thankful for every single one of the movies and what they've done for horror, and I
Yeah.
can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
There we are then, guys. That is all we got time for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts on the franchise as a whole is, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.